Lauterbacher Weissbier Hell.
Life is too short to be drinking shitty beer.
Welcome to another edition of Bands, Bikes and Booze Reviews. I've got yet another German one here today, and it is the Lauterbacher Weissbier Hell. Now, Lauterbacher, or Lauterbach I should say, is a region in Bavaria, and it's in a place or a province called Schwabia. And the brewery there is named the how do you pronounce this? Elner Brewery, I think it is. It's an independent brewer. They've been there since 1899. They're the oldest Weissbier brewer in Schwabia. And I'm sure I've tried one of those before. And it was a beer that was named after what they touted as the Bavarian Robin Hood. And what was the name of it? It was, it had a weird name, Heysel or something like that. I think it was. Yeah, they do a beer called Heysel, and I'm sure that's what's on the channel that I reviewed. Can't remember whether it was any good or not. Obviously not. It didn't stand out. But this is their Weissbier offering. Now it's a little bit confusing because it's got Weissbier Hell. So immediately, to most people, that would assume, a Hell or Helles lager is a light beer. So you'd assume it was some sort of crystal Weiss maybe, but it's not. It's actually a Weissbier. If you look on the side of the bottle here, it says Nature Trube, which means cloudy. Is this fucking autofocus ever going to work? What's it got on? Here we go. And relax. I've had a very stressful day today at work, and I really need this fucking beer. But this is a top fermented Weissbier from Weissbier Heaven, which is Bavaria, and I've got high hopes for it because if you're going to be brewing Weissbier in Bavaria, you've got to be good because there is a hell of a lot of competition. Now, I've said it before and I'll say it quite a few times, Weissbier probably is one of my favourite styles. Well, it probably is the favourite beer style of mine, but it's closely followed by Doppelbock, Helles, but basically anything German is pretty good. And I think I'm qualified to tell a good one from a bad one. I've reviewed a hell of a lot of Weissbier, especially from Bavaria, but not just from Bavaria, all over Germany. And there's been some absolutely outstanding ones. There's been some pretty good, solid Weissbiers, and there has been some damn right shit as well. And I'm not going to go into which ones are shit here. You just have to look on the channel, wouldn't you? But high hopes for this, coming from Bavaria. So let's investigate what's going on with this bottle. Okie dokie, 500ml bottle. It is a 5.5% beer, and it is a Weissbier Hell. They do make a thing about it being a Nature Trube, which means naturally cloudy, and they make a big thing about it coming from Bayern, which is Bavaria. There is the EU geographical protected status. We will no longer have that now because we are out of the European Union. We will now be paying 20% VAT on our beers from Europe, which is a real shame. But we're out of the EU. That's what happens. I don't care how you voted. I'm not going to tell you how I voted. If you voted to stay in, that's fine by me. If you voted to stay out, that's fine by me. It really doesn't matter. Not on the channel. If you take me out and buy me a beer, after about 3, I'll tell you how I voted. But I ain't doing it sober. No point. It just creates division. I've never seen so many people from both sides of the fence get so defensive about leaving and about staying in. I've got my own views. You're not going to hear them here though. And with that, let's get it open. Right, Lauterbacher from a place called Lauterbacher. Funny enough, God, is that my imagination, or did a big waft of banana and clove just come out of that bottle? I'm not going to sniff it in the bottle, but I'm going to put it in the glass. In ye olde glass. I had it in my head as well that this was a crystal Weiss for some reason. But it's not, and this is their flagship beer. So it should be good. God, that does smell strong, I will say that. Huge amount of carbonation, massive head. And that is very characteristic of it. Look at the carbonation on that. You'd be surprised. I mean, that looks just fucking insane. But and I can see some floaters in there as well. But it really does look like an insane amount of carbonation, but that is normal. And look at that head. And I've done my best there to try and pour that. I'm a pretty adept at pouring Weissbier, but that is just way over carbonated at the moment. I just want to show you that. That is insane. That's almost bordering on the Erdinger levels of carbonation. Now, if you don't know my opinion on Erdinger, it's basically shit in my opinion. I don't care how many bottles they sell. I don't care who likes it. I think it's shit. Has none of the characteristics of a genuine German wheat beer, in my opinion. There you go. That's just my opinion. Oh, this is going to be fucking ridiculous. Well, I'll tell you what I'll do. And I'm probably not going to... I've done this a few times where I have massively overcarbonated wheat beers. I'm going to let it settle down. Now, this really isn't the way you should pour a wheat beer. But it's the only way I'm going to get it all into the glass. And you really do have to get the whole bottle into the glass, because if you don't, you're going to leave the sediment in the bottle, and the sediment, of course, is the yeast, and the yeast is where the flavour comes from. If you take that yeast out, if you want a perfect example of what wheat beer tastes with just normal yeast in it, try the Bolton's Weizen. That was a really strange beer. It really threw me, because it looked like a Weizen, but it just didn't taste anything like a Weizen. And the only reason they called it a Weizen was because it did have wheat in it. And again, I'm fucking treading water here, trying to wait for this to settle down a little bit. But this is the reason why you do not drink a wheat beer out of the bottle straight, because all that carbonation will be going straight into your stomach, and you will be so bloated it will be unreal. Right, let's see if we can get some more of that in here. There's a little bit left at the bottom. I'm going to take some out of it and then I'll drink it. But you can see now straight away that's gone more cloudy, or cloudier, if you want to use the correct grammar. And that's the simple reason for that is I've been swinging it about, loosening up all the sediment that's in there, and that's gone into it and it's giving it the cloudiness. Whatever you do, don't take advice from a certain beer reviewer who rolls an open bottle across the table. You just end up spilling the fucking beer. I don't know why he does it. I've pulled him up on it a couple of times and he's banned me now. You try and help people and they just throw it back in your face. Fuck them. That's what I say. Zum Wohl, as they say in Germany. Not bad. Not bad. Oh, spicy. Interesting. There's actually what I'm picking up, and I haven't had a wheat beer for a while now, but I'm picking up the spice on that, and it's like a peppery spice, black pepper. I doubt it's coming from the hops that are in it. I imagine the hops are negligible. Usually are. You don't get much hop character at all, unless of course you're drinking the Schneiderweiss one, which is specifically brewed to have a hoppy flavour, but generally you don't. And there it is, everything in the glass. See, that's why I'm treading water, just to get it all in there. Now look at that, carbonation's calmed down, head's dropped to normal levels, very big foamy white head, but it's so cloudy now. Before that was relatively clear, but it's just gone, now the yeast sediment's in there, that's gone very cloudy indeed. I'm going to dive in again. That's nice. Very well balanced. And this is one of them ones that hasn't got the big bubblegum esters. Now I do make a point of that in some of the videos I watch, and I'll always point it out when I find it in a Weissbier, but this hasn't got that. If you're wondering what I'm talking about, it's the the juicy fruit chewing gum. That's the nearest I can describe to it when they say bubble gum. Even though juicy fruit is chewing gum, it's not fucking bubble gum. It's that style of flavour, and you can get it in them sweet wheat beers that you get. This hasn't got that. This is a much more balanced wheat beer. I'm trying to think of one I can liken it to. It's difficult. I'm trying to think of one. Certainly not any of the Munich brewers. Any of the good solid Bavarian wheat beers outside of Munich, that's what I would liken it with. Now that sounds like a massive cop out, doesn't it? But believe me, there are hundreds of wheat beers that are brewed outside. I'll tell you what it does remind me of. The Kapuziner from Lauterbacher. That's their wheat beer brand, if you like. It's on a par. I wouldn't say it's on a par, but it's in that sort of vein. Quite balanced. Not massive banana and clove. There's not massive spice on it. There certainly isn't the bubble gum on there. It's just all balanced quite nicely. And it's nice. What I do find is a lot of these wheat beer reviewers, they say there's coriander in German wheat beer. Now, you certainly get that in the Belgian wheatbeers. You don't get it in German wheat beers. I can't detect that. And I don't know where they're getting that from, because, it's just not there. Is there herbal type flavours to a German wheat beer? Not massively, no. Herbal flavours really aren't a characteristic, unless of course Schneiderweiss, they do specialty wheat beers which have various types of, I wouldn't say adjuncts, but there's flavours that are added into the yeast strains that you get, and sometimes from the hops as well, that you'll pick up. But usually what you get is the banana, the clove, some of the wheat flavour occasionally, and of course the massive carbonation, and that's more or less it. But there are so many variations on the yeast strains that you get varying degrees of certain flavours, and that's what makes it different, and that's what makes it taste nice. And this has got more or less all the flavours in good balance, and it's very nice as well. The mouthfeel, when you saw that carbonation at the start, that doesn't translate in the mouthfeel at all. No aggression in the carbonation whatsoever. In fact, it's very smooth now. Very nice. Yeah, that is a solid wheat beer. I do like that. Very nice indeed. So what's the verdict on Lauterbacher Weissbier Hell? It's a typical German Weissbier. It's got all the characteristics I'd expect. Quite well balanced, very drinkable, lovely mouthfeel, very full-bodied as you normally get with a good wheat beer, and it just comes across as a solid German wheat beer. Yeah, it's not an outstanding wheat beer, don't get me wrong, it's not up there with the best wheat beers, but it's certainly no slouch, and I like it because it's balanced. There are some nice flavours on there. They're not too overpowering in certain departments. So sometimes you may get an extra lot of banana, you may get that bubble gum, you may get a lot of clove in some of them, but this is just balanced and it's nice, and I wouldn't have expected anything less. This is the flagship beer of the oldest wheat beer brewer in Schwabia, so it's going to be pretty decent. I quite like it. I'm going to give it an 8 out of 10. I will recommend it if you're in the region, but I will say there is better out there. Now, with the ease, well, I don't know how easy it's going to be now we've left the EU, but certainly on Beers of Europe you can get some of the best Weissbier that's available there. You can get the Schneider Weiss. I think they've got the Weihenstephaner. If they haven't, get your arse down to Sainsbury's now and get some. It's relatively cheap and you'll enjoy it. The Franziskaner is another one that's widely available. I don't know where that's being brewed now because it's everywhere, and the cynic in me thinks there's some secret place that's brewing it in the United Kingdom. Either way, it doesn't taste bad. But I think this is a cut above the Franziskaner. I think it's just a little bit smoother. I tend to find that Franziskaner is a little bit too sweet. I wouldn't say it's a little bit too sweet. If there's nothing else and I really fancy a wheat beer, I know I can go down to the co-op down the road and get a Franziskaner. But this is nice. You know, if you see it and if you're buying a load of beers just to try, get this. This is only about £2.50 a bottle. It's worth checking out. It's a nice one. And I've got no complaints about it. Just good, solid Bavarian beer. And remember, beer is working class champagne.